And
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
actually added that one, but then I thought about it afterwards and I'm like, oh my God, it's just too many things. I mean,
No, you should see the stuff I take. My husband sometimes just gets the biggest chuckle out of me because I take a lot of stuff every day.
I
And
did.
if I get a little bit sick, then I'm like, yeah, then I pile it all on. Now there is
Yeah.
an herb that comes from Africa that's called Cryptolepis that has powerful antimicrobial properties. So it's a powerful antiviral as well. And I've mixed that very safely with Lomation. So
Okay.
yeah.
And that Crypto-lepis, is that a C or a K?
It's a C. So just like cryptocurrency, it's literally Crypto-lepis, Lepis.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for your work. And I mean, Lomation, like, it's one of my staples to keep in my little medicine cabinet. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay, so you mentioned taking Lomation and a couple of other things while you had during the pandemic. Did you catch COVID? Do you believe like that it protected you from catching COVID, or did it mitigate it once you did catch COVID? Assuming you did.
Yeah, so here's my story. February of 2020. Okay, well, November of 2019, my daughter-in-law got really, really sick. And I'm thinking she had COVID because it was November of 19. And then February of 2020, I caught something. And this was before March. So this was February. And like all my little coworkers, we all got sick, and then we got over it. And then I never took a test. I mean, we're a small family company and we're a herbal company. So we got to do what we wanted to do. We didn't participate in the craziness as much as, some people did. And then I had a curiosity. I was having PRP injections in my knee in September of 2020. And I asked, it was a naturopathic doctor. I said, hey, do you have the ability to do an antibody test to see? Because I think I had COVID in February of 2020. And so he did an antibody test. And I had strong antibodies for COVID in September. And then in October of 2022, so a full year later, I had another antibody test and I tested for strong antibodies, but I never had a COVID test. So I had it, but I only had it the once. And I obviously got the very first strain, which protected me and gave me antibodies. And so, yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like the herbs that you were taking at the time had any sort of protective or impact on you?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I took Lomation almost every day during 2020. I mean, I hit it pretty hard in February when I was sick. I was taking it, and I was actually down for a couple of weeks, and I was down with it pretty hard. But I had all the herbal stuff, and then I just continued to take it for prevention, clear for a couple of years. And then, yes, I think it was absolutely pivotal. I think there's no doubt. But I was also, I called up all my siblings at the beginning of COVID. I'm like, what do you guys need? And I sent every one of them, because there's a few that live near where I live, but some live out of state as well. And I made sure all of my siblings had, and I kept them stocked on everything, and I got constant calls like, can you send me more of this? And there's no doubt in my mind.
Great. So what about, change the subject off of that. What about good memory? What would you suggest as far as a natural health approach or an herbal approach to improving memory?
So like I said earlier, I love Ginkgo. Ginkgo is very well studied. It's the oldest living tree species. But what I've recently added in the last probably 3 years is lion's mane. Lion's mane is a mushroom, and the cool thing is there's 2 compounds in lion's mane that allows all the properties of lion's mane, which is cognitive function, focus, memory. But these 2 compounds, in fact, I've got them written right here, they're hericenones and erinacines, they actually cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a huge thing. So lion's mane and ginkgo are probably my two favorites for memory, cognitive function, and those are two I would really suggest people take a look at.
And can you get those benefits from the lion's mane mushroom from cooking it and eating it, or do you need to have it, do you need to have it prepared properly?
Yeah, you need to have it prepared properly. So lion's mane is definitely a culinary mushroom. You can find it in a lot of places if you know how to look for it. If you're a hiker, you live near places where you can go hiking, and you can gather it, wash it, and then you can kind of tear it into chunks and saute it and put it in soups and stews. And you can even make a really flavorful appetizer with it. It's kind of a meaty mushroom. Mm-hmm. But in order to get the medicinal benefits out of and this is true for most medicinal mushrooms, is you have to do an extraction. So you have to either do a hot water extraction, an alcohol extraction, or a combination of both, because the fruiting body of the mushroom is tough, and you can't get the properties of a lion's mane mushroom out if you just cook with it or chop it up and dry it, and then you have to break open that fruiting body. So yeah, that's a great question.
Great. And do you offer any sort of supplementation on your website with the lion's mane mushroom?
We do. Yeah, it's in a organic extract form, and it's powdered down and it's encapsulated. So it's super easy. But yeah, we do.
All right, great. Our next question is coming from Rita. Where are you from, and what's your question?
Hi, this is Rita Patija from Long Island. Excellent information. What do you do for the nosebleed?
Nosebleeds can be a couple of things. They can be if someone has like old root canals. This might sound kind of funny, but if you have old root canals with some low-grade infections, it might start to dissolve some of that sinus bone, which can lead to chronic nosebleeds. So that would probably be one of the first things I would do, is go try to find a biological dentist who can check and see if you have some low-grade infections under some old root canals. And those should be addressed anyway. And then there might be an issue with blood clotting. And I would say, that's not something I'm really, there's probably some type of infection going on, sinus infection, or maybe an allergy. But those would be the things I would check. I don't really have anything I would throw at it, except I would see if there's some type of infection, especially in the sinus bone with those old root canals. That's probably something I would check.
Thank you.
All right. And we actually had a dentist on early on in our talks. I'm actually looking up her name right now, who specifically talked about infections and using a cone beam CT scan. So if you look at our talks again, therealtruthabouthealth.com, you should be able to find her talk. It was a female dentist, and her name is not coming to me right off the bat, but definitely worth checking out if you're interested in checking out the infections and how they may cause other medical problems for you. All right. So thank you, Rita. The next question is coming from David. Where are you from, and what is your question?
Yes, I'm from the Washington, D.C. area, and I was curious about Lyme disease regarding herbs. I was told or conveyed that cimento, banderol, cumanda, berberonella, and something called biocidin from Biocidin Herbals were helpful. I was curious to know your take on that, and if you have time, what herbs you would use for hemorrhoids. I heard witch hazel is good. Thank you.
Yeah, very good questions. Lyme is interesting because those of you, and it sounds like you probably do also know, David, as the Lyme spirochete mutates into the different co-infections, this is where it gets really tricky. And most of the time, people that get diagnosed with Lyme, they get put on round after round of antibiotics, which doesn't address the spirochete as it mutates into the different co-infections. So, and again, I know some stuff about Lyme and herbs for it. It is not my deep area of expertise for sure, but there are some things that we've used and have helped people with over all the years I've been going with helping with Lyme. Now, Lomation is very, very good for Lyme. And about a year and a half ago, I formulated a product for long haul COVID. And what I found as it was going through the testing phase with a few of the doctors in my database and in my, people that I can test things, used in their practice to test things, is it wasn't only good for long haul COVID, it was actually really good for people with Lyme. So it had Lomation, it has Cryptolepis, and then it has Chaparral. So those are 3 powerful antimicrobials, if you think about that. And as the Lyme spirochete mutates, and I've seen Lomation alone help with Lyme. And it does take some patience. It takes a while. You have to be really patient and consistent. But with the addition of the Cryptolepis and the Chaparral, which, like I said, this was designed to go after long haul symptoms, and then they started using it for Lyme, very beneficial. And then what I did is I added 3 adaptogens to this blend with the 3 antimicrobials. I added suma root. I added 2 adaptogens, suma and holy basil. Because when you not only have Lyme, but you have long haul, you're out of balance. Your body is trying to handle the spirochete and all the different co-infections. Your body's trying to handle all of the things with long haul. And so the 2 adaptogens help to balance body chemistry and bring you into a place of homeostasis while you're working on the infections and the way that they change around too. So the other herbs you mentioned, also good. I mean, I know people that have thrown all kinds of things at Lyme and with good results. And like I said, a lot of times it just takes patience and consistency. And then getting the lifestyle factors and, of course, the meditation, get out in nature. I mean, our bodies are so miraculous, they can heal from anything. And that's my belief from the things that I've seen. And then as far as hemorrhoids, yes, witch hazel is wonderful. I would suggest if you can get witch hazel and infuse it into an oil, which is actually fairly easy. Then you can make it into a salve after the witch hazel is infused, or you could probably find an herbal product that has it. We don't have anything like that, but you can actually get something like a base of coconut oil, some shea butter, maybe even a tiny bit of beeswax just to give it some substance. Put a little bit of vitamin E in your salve to act as a natural preservative, and then put the witch hazel oil in, and yes, very healing and soothing for hemorrhoids. But here's the thing, really quickly, enzymes. I would say enzymes are really good for dealing. There's usually a digestive issue that accumulates in the formation of hemorrhoids, and cayenne pepper, because hemorrhoids are typically a vascular problem. Like, this is all just kind of coming to me as we're chatting. So cayenne pepper and enzymes are really, really good for hemorrhoids.
Thank you for that. And just to follow up with what I was saying about the oral infection and getting that checked out, the talk was by Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, and it was entitled "Answers for Chronic Health Problems Are in Your Mouth." So if you want to check that out on our website, therealtruthAboutHealth.com. Okay, so we've got about 8 minutes or so. Steve, where are you from? What's your question?
Hi, Steve from New York. I have a friend that's been having episodes of like asthma attacks. His oxygen doesn't crash, but he can't breathe. I don't know if it's anxiety related or also, what do you have to support detox of cadmium and any kind of support for the pancreas? Thank you.
Okay, so asthma, I would use Lomation, very good for asthma. Maybe surprisingly, maybe not. Really good for asthma. We also have a formula that's called Immunity Boost that has, it does have Lomation, it has dandelion, and then it has an herb called red root and a blue vervain and some sarsaparilla. That was formulated initially to help prevent the Lomation rash, but over the years, we've had people use it very, very successfully for not just seasonal allergies, but for asthma. So I would take a look at the herbs that are in that. The product to look for is called Immunity. So like immunity, but without the I and just one M, Immunity Boost. Take a look at that. Herbs to support the pancreas are things like cinnamon, again, Genema sylvestre. I brought that up a little bit earlier. Really good for the pancreas. And then what was the other question?
Steve, what was the other question?
Cadmium.
Oh, cadmium. I would use broken cell wall Chlorella. And if you've never used broken cell wall Chlorella as a heavy metal detox, some people can get a little bit nauseous when they first start using it. So I would start kind of small, or start like when I had all my silver fillings removed about 20 years ago, I used the broken cell wall Chlorella to help my body detox from all the mercury and the exposure that I had from that. But it's also very good for cadmium. So what you want to do is you want to maybe start with, say, 2 capsules twice a day. And then I would pretty quickly see how your body acclimates and maybe go up to 6 capsules 2 or 3 times a day. And you might have a metallic smell to your urine as your body's expelling it, because it attaches to the metals will attach to the Chlorella and your body will expel it. And also add cilantro to your diet. Cilantro is very, very detoxifying for things like lead and mercury and cadmium, really detoxifying. So those 2 things I would suggest.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. So, again, go back to the natural approaches, herbs or any other natural approach for kidneys, just general health for kidneys and to protect against kidney stones.
My favorite for kidneys is Chanca Piedra. That's probably one of my very favorites for kidney stones. It's also good for gallstones. Chanca is known as the stone breaker. That's one of the common names for it. One of the biggest things for kidney health is to stay hydrated, in my opinion. But I would definitely take a look at Chanca Piedra. And off the top of my head, I think I might be getting just a tiny bit tired, to be honest.
No worries.
Let me see. I off the top of my head, I would do a teeny bit of research, but Chanca is my top for kidney.
All right, and we got about 4 minutes left, so you can relax after the 4 minutes. A real quick question. So you're talking about Lomatium. You mentioned by itself, but then you also have some products that blend it in with other herbs. Can you take Lomatium on its own and one of these blends? Is that a problem?
Yeah, yes, you can. And no, it's not a problem. I've never had anyone react outside of the one-time detox rash. I've never had anybody react in a negative way when they add other herbs or other antimicrobials. I mean, we do a few blends with Lomation. We do an anti-candida formula that has Lomation in it. That's the main anti-yeast, anti-candida herb. But yeah, I've seen Lomation added with all kinds of other things, and it's a real powerhouse, and it's safe enough to give to your babies. I mean, I gave it to my own kids when they were just a few weeks old, literally. Lomation by itself in tincture form, if they started getting a little bit sick, and same with my grandkids. So yeah.
Okay, next question is coming from Lisa. Where are you from, and what is your question?
I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. I just got my Lomation in the mail like 2 days ago, so I'm a little nervous. Your recommendations for herpes virus. Thank you so much for your work.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, and I kind of started to mention it when I was giving my little talk by myself in the beginning. So herpes lives under the Epstein-Barr family. And my own personal experience with it is with my husband. He came to our marriage he'd have been taking medication for herpes for 20 years. He would get these cold sore breakouts, and he would take this medication when cold sore would come on. And he grew up in a very medical, scientifically based in the medical profession. And then I grew up very herbal, hippie, all of that. So when we kind of came together, it was like, he was like, oh, it's nice. My wife does all these nice little herb things. And he really never participated for a while because he's healthy too. So one day he was getting ready to go on a business trip and he had a breakout, and it was the weekend. He didn't have any of his prescription and he was desperate. So he was like, give me some of that Lomatium. So he took we make it into a tincture called LDM, which stands for the name of the plant. But he took some and it knocked his cold sore down. And when he came back from his trip, he's like, okay, what do I need to do? Because I'd love to get rid of these once and for all. And this was probably 17 or 18 years ago at this point. And he said, I said, well, here's, I would do 3 times a day for 30 days, do twice a day for another 5 or 6 months, and then go down to once a day for another year. Because he's been taking prescriptions for 20 years. And he did have a couple of small breakouts during this time, which is kind of normal as the body's working on keeping the viral loads low. And he actually went in and had a doctor's appointment a little while after that. And the doctor said, what's going on with your herpes? You haven't been in for your prescription. And he was in for a regular checkup. And he said, well, my wife has this little herb I've been taking, and I don't really have breakouts anymore. And so this was, like I said, a long time ago. He actually had a PCR test, which now PCR tests are famous. But he actually tested, it was negative. His herpes virus was gone. And I've had people be on this protocol over these years, and they're able to keep their viral loads low and the breakouts very minimal and sometimes non-existent, but they'll still test positive for having, because I do think we're made up of viruses. So that's what I would suggest. It's for a lot of people, it's not a quick fix unless you're newly diagnosed with it. I have had people test negative only after a couple of months, but they had barely been infected with the herpes virus. So everyone's a little bit different. To me, it's nice to have a tool that you can keep these viral loads at bay. That's non-toxic, that's very, very safe. It's not going to have any side effects. To me, that's a lot better option than going on a prescription drug that might have some problems.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And with that, we are at that time. So I wanted to thank you very much for all of the amazing information. I've got tons of notes here that I'm going to be checking out. If we could unmute the audience, please.
So, thank you. There is this